of remaining safe in the future also. I do hope that this conclave will give good ideas, practical suggestions, also showcase some important products and services which have come out in the market in the last year or so, and it will be of tremendous benefit to all the participants. Once again, my good wishes to all of you, and look forward to a very, very useful and productive collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for those encouraging and motivating words. And sir, I should certainly make a statement about your support of Hyderabad Security Council all this long. And when we talked about the concept of She Shuttle, which is one of the flagship service of Hyderabad Security Council, sometimes many of the industry folks know She Shuttle than Hyderabad Security Council itself. So when we conceived that idea, and the first person to have been reached, I mean, Mr. C.V. and myself, was Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. We socialized the thought with him. He was very readily agreeing to kind of support that initiative. And today, we have 5 She Shuttles running in all different parts of IT corridor, including one in Rajakonda. Thank you very much for all your support, sir. We definitely look forward to that support again. As you mentioned about information sharing, right, between organizations on the cybersecurity initiatives, the best methodologies, best practices, and all that stuff. We already implemented that in the infrastructure safety professionals group. We have a group called Hyderabad Heads of Security Group, where we have people, heads of security, come and share what are the best practices and methodologies, tools and techniques they use to be able to, keep their premises very safe. And such information sharing is happening already. As a part of our 4-point agenda, we will definitely incorporate the information sharing between cybersecurity professionals to be able to, strengthen the overall cyber resilience of our system. So before you leave, sir, but we would like to, request Mr. Mahesh Bhagwat and Mr. Sandeep Chandilya to felicitate him by giving a memento, please. Again, thank you very much for just gracing this occasion, sir. Now I request Mr. Roland Cloutier, as Chief Security Officer of ADP, to address the gathering, please.
Good morning, everyone. Got technical difficulties. Give us 1 minute.
As long as it's not hacked.
Did you remember my password?
Oh, no. This is a different cable? Excuse me. Jagdish, is there any different cable? That's our response. Sorry about that. You want that a little closer, the screen, so that you'll be able to see that when you present the presentation.
Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. Well, good morning again. And thank you for having me here today. Before I get started, I'd like to just say to the law enforcement folks that are here today in presence and the government officials, thank you very much, because without what you do every day and the participation and the show of support you give the commercial entity, it is almost impossible to do our jobs every day with the onslaught of cyber attacks and implications against our businesses. So thank you very much. Today, I'm going to be speaking more to the practitioners, to you, who do this job that I do every day about protecting our businesses. And in fact, I want to spend most of the time focusing on a term that we use called business operations protection. Because I think the concept of cyber and information security and information assurance has really been played way too much without thinking about the core residual impact of what we're doing every day. And that is all about business operations protection. It's not just about the firewalls. It's about the sustainability of an entity, and whether it's a government organization or it is a BPO or a manufacturing entity. Our jobs as security, risk, and privacy practitioners truly is focused on protecting the businesses that we serve every day. Problem is that there are certainly some gaps in making that happen. If you think about an end-to-end business, how I develop a product to how I deliver a product, and all of those processes in between, there are some pretty significant gaps. The first and foremost is this issue around technology as a focus. I mean, think about it. You go to a security training session or a tech show or something like that. It's all about the technology, the new AI platform, the new firewall, the new this or that or identity solution. Oftentimes, we spend so much time focused on technology controls, we fail to look at our businesses. We fail to understand how our businesses operate, how they make money, or how our agencies support our society. The next big gap we have is we're all so busy looking at our own businesses. And this concept we say is living inside our own box. I mean, think about it. If you're a fighter or a boxer or you're in the martial arts, imagine getting into a box and trying to fight from within that box. It's not easy. Or if you're trying to understand who's coming at you and you can't see above your box. Well, when we focus on security inside of our own organizations, looking just at our firewalls, just at our networks, not understanding the completeness of all of the entities outside who would do us harm, or of the technologies or processes that impact our businesses every day, we're defending from inside our own box, and it's almost impossible to do our job that way. And then the last issue is on the concept of doing our business. Yes, us as security practitioners. You know, I have a large security organization. I have a few hundred practitioners in 13 different countries, and I protect one entity. We're not a security services firm. What's most difficult is, what does that cost? We spend so much of our shareholders' funds on security. If I were to be my own business, I would actually be ready to go public with the amount of money we spend. But in my opinion, it's still never enough. It's never going to be enough, and we have to prioritize. But how do you prioritize? How do you look at your risks? How do you look at the costs of remediation or implementation of new technologies? And how do you drive those decisions? And all of these questions come around the focus of defending the value chain for your company. Again, how do I make a widget? How do I sell a widget? How do I service it? And everything in between is my responsibility as a practitioner. So as we start to talk and think about how digitization and intelligence maps together to make this happen, we also have to look at a couple of new adjacencies as practitioners we have to focus on. I mentioned the word sustainability before because it's a key topic. Sustainability being able to drive our business. So for instance, I pay roughly 1 in 6 people in the United States, 1 in 10 pay slips around the world goes through our platforms. What if I don't have the capability to have our portals on? What if people can't connect into our APIs? What happens? How many people don't get their funds in their bank accounts at the end of the week? So business resiliency and new functions like DR and crisis management become a core part of what we as practitioners do every day. So how do you get there? How do you think of this as business operations protection and use intelligence as a platform to deliver those services? Well, first and foremost, you have to engage your business. Engaging your business and the transparency therein is the most important thing. And it's really a bi-directional view. So many of us are experts. Cyber experts, networking experts, privacy experts, risk experts. We can tell you up and down the stack how to protect your business or your operating system. How many people can tell me how your margins work, how your products go to market, how your clients use your products? When was the last time you sat in a call center and listened to people calling into your company? Do you know how your business works? Do you know the next 3 years of technology or services you're going to deliver to market? If you don't have that transparency, how do you expect to develop security programs that will protect them? The next is the business. So we have to be educated as practitioners, but the business has to be educated as well. They really have to have an understanding of what it takes, how bad guys can really ruin their day, stop them from delivering services, and being able to give clear understanding to that. The next area that we have to focus on is how our information moves. You know, in order to get paid or for us to pay someone, you actually have to go through 11 different business platforms, 11. And each one of those may be in a different data center or in a different part of the geography of the world, depending what product set you're on. And when you sit down with your business partners and you say, show me how your platform works, show me where the data moves, show me who has access to it, that's a very difficult thing. And I know earlier we talked about GDPR. One of the fundamental capabilities that we're going to have is being able to map our business processes. Sit down, see where our information moves, how it gets manipulated, and that focus on transparency into protecting those systems. Intelligence brings us other information. So there's a couple different types of intelligence. There's intelligence and information we receive to be able to act on our job. Then there's information that we have that we can give as intelligence back out. And part of the transparency to this business is to be able to give them intelligence, right? One of the most important things is within our relationship is giving them good information to help them make good decisions. You know, this is hard to see from back there, but these are some very simple maps that we provide our own business. Lower right-hand corner is probably one of the most predominant. You know, as security practitioners, we're often telling people that their baby is bad, their product isn't good, they have a problem with the business they manage. And that can get emotional. right? People want to push back on security because we tell them things aren't perfect. But when you can show it to them, and so for instance, in that lower corner, that's the number of products we have in our go-to-market. And there's a question about vulnerabilities because we have to measure our vulnerabilities every day. That map simply shows that one product that's not doing so well. And so when I put that in front of the business owner, it's a non-emotional discussion. It's an easy way to have a conversation by using intelligence as a mechanism, as a conversation. Okay, second major area. First is the transparency with the business. The second is this concept of over-the-horizon threat modeling. We talked about it a little at the beginning with this issue of fighting from inside a box. If you don't understand what's hitting your adjacent industries, if you don't understand what's attacking governments in countries you support, if you don't know what's coming 3 years down the line, you're going to have a big problem. You have to be able to see over that horizon and then make interesting conclusions based on the data sets you have within your environment. So for instance, Equifax had a bad month, okay, a real bad month. But the question around that was their environment, their intelligence environment, giving them the right information to be able to go patch their environment. And although they had certain technology frameworks implemented, did they know where they all were? And that's an issue with all of us, not just with one company that had a bad month. So do you have the intelligence and data capabilities within your environment to listen to what's happening outside and look broadly across your own environment to make good security decisions on how to move your resources and your technologies? Also, that information out there is relatively easily available. You can partner with law enforcement. You can partner with government entities. You can also get feeds directly from third parties. We have about 8 that we pay for in each one of our major industry segments that give us information about who's attacking who, and we use that in an automated way from an intelligence perspective. All of this is relating to intelligence-based operations. And when we think about what that means, first and foremost, understanding the ecosystem. Governments worry about the ecosystem of their country and where they operate and who may be looking to harm them. You have to do the same thing. It includes your third parties. It includes your vendors. It includes the countries that you operate in. What is the ecosystem and how do you define it? And how do you monitor for that information and collect that data? Next is intelligence-based operations around threat management. Now, threat management often is seen as pure cyber attack. But threat management can be around resiliency issues. It can be your internal threats. It can be third-party threats. So how are you measuring that, managing it? And how are you making your decisions based on the information you're receiving from those platforms? The last area, as practitioners, I can say that intelligence serves an incredible area, is this area of around operational decision support. I receive, on average, about 20 different important reports every week. And those reports allow me to go and have a discussion with the business and with my executive team on where should we put our efforts. Operational decision support enables you to use your platforms, your technologies, your information as a decision support platform. Good risk information, good information about where my vulnerabilities are. How many of you have a platform or a collection capability internal that you can say, you know, that's a new threat. Where do I have it in my environment, and how big is the gap, right? Being able to do that across your business and across your technology platforms are absolutely critical. And then, of course, this topic around business transparency. How do you feed that information back into your business? If you have a risk process, give them very detailed information on their risks, their gaps, and on a very regular basis. You know, we're entering into a new relationship with an industry forum around reviewing and managing risks as it relates to all our businesses. and be able to provide live updates on our ability to mitigate that risk. These are some of the things coming in next generation use of intelligence in our organization. The next part of your plan and your capability to get to business operations protection is a concept called critical asset protection programs. So CAP is our ability to look at the crown jewels, to prioritize, because we can't fix everything. We can't stop everything. So CAP has a few major portions to it. The first is, how do you identify them? As a security practitioner, I can tell you the network's important. I can tell you that certain databases are important. But you have to sit down with the business and say, how could someone stop your business? What is your worst case scenario? So how do you do prioritization with your organization? Well, critical asset protection planning, the first thing is to sit down and go through that. Then do an appropriate risk assessment. How do I think about who could attack it internally and externally? Where does that fall? What are the threats against it? And do I have defensive capabilities in place in order to stop it? But it goes beyond that. It has to go into our monitoring. If we've said that's a critical asset, we found the risk, we've prioritized remediation, how do I monitor it? You know, the state, the Providence is setting up a new security operations center. Do you have one? Do you have the capability to monitor your most critical assets? And even if you do, what happens when they go off? Do you have special security instructions? Do you have relationships with organizations that can help you investigate those? So make sure that you consider all of those when looking at your most critical assets. The last area in this section is around controls assurance. So I now say that I have to have certain things in my environment: identity and access management, auditing, logging, so many different components. But do they work? You know, we have a group called our Controls Assurance Group. They're not auditors, they're practitioners like you. Their job is to make sure that whatever I commit to, as far as our controls, is that they're operable, that the efficacy of those technologies are still working, and they're delivering the services we need. And they're also saying, hey boss, we don't need those anymore. We can get rid of those because there's nothing left in that area to protect. And controls assurance becomes an important part of any global security organizations. I think at the end, there's really the three things that we all know we have to do is drive major security programs with a base of people, process, and technology. When it comes to running security and intelligence programs for commercial entities, what I will say is that there's some very specific things in each one of these areas you want to look at. From a people perspective, you want to be able to inform. If you're able to give them an understanding of what they have to do and why, it empowers them to go deliver that security. If you give people a mission every day to make them understand how their job affects the totality of the organization, they'll want to go do that. The next area is training our people. I'm from former military as well, and I think one thing all military say worldwide is, if you train hard, you fight hard. And that you have to train your people. You have to give them the skill set. And whether these are just regular education or whether you're actually doing red team and blue team exercises, they have to do it. Or they're not going to be successful when the time counts. And the last area is prepare them. Listen, if you still have job descriptions that says Firewall Engineer 1, and the truth is our business, our practitionership is going and doing things like advanced cloud analytics, and you're doing next generation technology sets, but our people are still being put into job families that have nothing to do with their job does anymore, that's our fault. So as leaders in this space, we have to fix that. The next area is around our processes. First of all, we have to go find them. What are our business processes? What are we protecting every day? What is the business doing that we have to enable and make sure we understand all the subsystems below that? How do you document that? Who documents it? How do you make that information available to your security operations, your engineering? How about to the business? I'm one of the biggest provider of information around business process to the business that I support. And then we have to improve our own processes, automate them. Why should our people be doing very manual work on a daily basis when you can use information that we receive externally and great data sets internally? In fact, we collect around 50 billion events a week into our security intelligence data platform. And we utilize that information to ensure that we understand our business processes. And at a technology level, first and foremost, we have to make sure that the technologies we choose, we implement, and we select can fit into your ecosystem, that they work well in your environment, they work well with your partners. You're able to use that in support of law enforcement operations when you're attacked. How do you think about developing an ecosystem, and how do you think about working within the third parties that you use and manage your data? Last, and I heard this morning, I think the good doctor mentioned this, it's really all about the data, right? We have a responsibility and a mission criteria for confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of platforms, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's the information asset, that piece of data, that we have to figure out how to protect. Focus your technology on that, how your data moves, how your data is protected with encryption, and how you can observe it wherever it is in its life cycle. And the last component around technology is tangibility. Is it real? Is it useful? And is it making an impact for your business? So at the end of the day, a lot of information out there, a lot of intelligence you can use to help support your go-to-market. But just know that the future of your business depends on you through the use of business operation protection programs. So with that, go change your world. Start here locally and go change the rest of the world with the things that you are discovering and delivering around the globe on behalf of your companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roland, for this very insightful presentation. And we certainly do agree that the fundamentals of cyber resilience comes from people, process, and technology. And I'm sure SESC will play a major role in terms of, concretizing that, three pillars of cyber resilience. Now, I would rather just kind of request the dignitaries to, go off the stage at this point. And the reason is that people want to be also looking at the presentation. I think some of it is blocking. No offense to all of you, but, I request all of you to just, move out of the stage and please be seated in the front row. Now, I request the last speaker, I think Brigadier General, you can stay back. So you can stay back because you're going to be the last speaker of the inaugural session today, and I request you to just deliver the keynote speech, please. Presentation. You have a presentation? Yes. Can somebody just move here? Oh, you're volunteer, right? So
okay. Thank you very much. It's a privilege for me to be here and to speak in front of you. I'm very thankful to Bharani Kumar and to my friend Bob Zakaria that makes this thing happen. And I'm very, very thankful to my partners here in Hyderabad, which made me this to be here in Hyderabad, second time in 1 month. L&B Group, which I hope we are going to have a long journey into cybersecurity in Hyderabad, Telangana, and India as a whole. So Amit, Yogesh, and Prashant, thank you very much. And it's a privilege to me to be here. My name is Doron Tamir. Most of my career was in the military service. And I retired in 1996 and I went to the IT arena. Among that, I've been Vice President of Nest Technologies, which is a big IT company in Israel in partnership with a big Indian company. I think we were the first to engage with IT in India. And later on in 2011, Prime Minister approached me to come to assist establishing the Israeli National Cyber Bureau. And I would like to share with you, and of course since 2014, I'm the chairman of the Cybersecurity Group, which is a company that provides strategic consultancy, solutions, and integration, and most and for all, training. And I hope that for the benefit of our societies in India and Israel and here in Hyderabad, we will share the information for the benefit of all of us. I separate what is the difference between